Mir bhai.
Yes, sir.
So it's 4:30. We should welcome all and thank you, Mir bhai, first of all, for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it's been tough days, and you are out of every day. You are having 3 to 4 webinars. It's tough, but now you are joined office, so it will be better nowadays. Let's see for a better future ahead with vaccine rolling out. I want to welcome all members also on behalf of FPME. This is our first event post-election of Kamlesh Bhai on the Committee of Administrator of Pharmexil. So let all who are here available here, let's all together congratulate Kamlesh Bhai once again. And nothing to talk much about it. I think let's hand over the session to Mihir Bhai so that we can move ahead with our road matters. In between, if any queries are there, please share in chat so that any questions can be asked, and one can raise your hand so that Mihir Bhai can answer all your queries. But let Mihir Bhai take over, and then he will also guide how to go ahead with it.
Thank you, Sandeep Bhai. Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to FPME, Kamlesh Bhai, for the being part of the Pharmexil committee. Since Sandeep Bhai mentioned this is the first event in the FPME after Kamlesh Bhai's election into the Pharmexil advisory board. Let me also say it is one of the first event, I believe, in 2021. So let me wish you all a very happy new year to begin with. And I hope 2021 is unlike 2020 for all of us.
It should be as a business sentiment for all members. I think 2020 gave, along with this difficulty, everyone had good business also. As a pharma, they have worked very hard. So let their hard work should get result into something fruitful this year. Let our members get more business this year.
So Sandeep bhai, let's hope that everybody transforms their four-wheeler to four logo cars, and from one car to probably 4 cars. So maybe that is the sentiment which you want to share.
And they require a charter flight to send their stocks, vaccines.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandeep bhai, for inviting again. And in fact, since we were logging in and we were waiting for participants, I was just putting the record for a present for my last thing. So I'm happy to tell you, Sandeep bhai, and it's nice for me also that FPME is the part of this. That this is today the FPME current webinar is the 250th webinar for me from 1st of April 2020. So in this current financial year,
congratulations.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
you should have told us. We would have highlighted it earlier.
Sir, I never knew it. I actually never knew it. I just happened because we were waiting for people. So I finished one event for Yes Bank, and I was just putting the records. So as the number came up, I realized that. So the reason I wanted to put it, I said FPME sounds to be a lucky to me, and a milestone with FPME is always a better and a nice feeling.
It has positive vibes. Whatever you say, FPME has positive vibes. Many of
it's proved right here. So I'm witness to it, and I enjoyed every single moment, and that's the reason I wanted to. So it's more of thanks to FPME rather than myself that you are part of this thing.
Congrats, Mir bhai.
Thank you, Mir. Thank you, Mir.
Friends, coming to our session today, I'm sure every one of you are well aware that things have changed. In a simpler sense, this event or this kind of a session would have been a fantastic journey if we would be sitting together in a conference hall. FPME would have arranged for a nice cup of tea and snacks, and then we would have started face to face. But we moved to digital, we have moved online, everything has gone electronical. As an exporter, we are already linking global players, global connect is already there. So there are things in our processes also which has become online, system driven, and I would say in many cases automated. The problem is we are somewhere in the cusp of understanding whether we should follow the old method, or we want to follow the old method, or we try to follow the old method, but apply it in the new system and the new world. That is not going to happen. We have to understand the new system, the nuances, and the new method. There are certain challenges, but at the same time, there are certain advantages that it is going to be it at on a click of a button that many of things will be available to you, which probably were taking a lot of time. So understanding these nuances is what we plan to do today. I'm going to quickly share my screen so that we are at the same page. Sandeep, I assume the screen is visible to everyone. Is the presentation visible? Janish Bhai, Dr. Rawat?
Yeah, it is visible.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So we are going to talk of two things. I know we are all very eagerly waiting for ROTTEP. Let me upfront, not spoil the mood, but tell you, I don't have rates in my pocket, by the way. So I'm not going to tell you the good news or the rates coming out, but let us understand the things as we stand. Before ROTTEP also, there are a lot of other things which a day-to-day exporter with the current changes have to understand. As we know, the focus is on two important things: digital, everything is going online, including a webinar. So everything is connected online. Second, it talks about ease of doing business. We are talking about making things simplified, making things self-declaration, and all our processes with various departments in the export as a transaction is becoming online. So the first, let's talk about DGFT, which is one of our key agency. Most of you are aware of DGFT. Most of you are well versed with it, right from your IEC code to your advanced authorization, MEIS, which you were taking. All of these are part and parcel of DGFT. Now, what has good thing happened in this lockdown, during this lockdown period, is DGFT, which was a long pending matter of updating and upgrading their website and the platform. They have upgraded it and they have now have a new updated portal. Please note the website address remains the same. It is dgft.gov.in, but the backend and the platform has changed. When I say it is changed, it is not just change in the dress up. It is changed completely. The website looks fantastic. It's new. It is very, very interactive. All the information, in fact, even what I'm going to give you today is actually available on the website itself. So it's not that I have derived from some other resources. It is right there for everyone to use it. It is using the best of the technologies. Just to prove my point that it has been using the best of the technology, if you look at this extreme right side corner at the bottom, you see this picture of a lady and it says Ask Wahi. Ask Wahi is a artificial intelligent chatbot. So now we are using artificial intelligence even by the department. So you ask Wahi some question, some query, and it will answer you. And not only answer you, it will provide you the link to the necessary notification also. So an artificial intelligence based chatbot is being used by the government office to provide all its services on the platform. So you can understand how far they have thought about it and how far they have gone. But we need to understand the system before we go into it, because if you don't look at the system, it will go away or you will feel lost. Many information is available online. I mean, by a click of a button, it is easily available. Those are generic information. But as all of you are already exporters, what are you supposed to do? To take the maximum benefit of this website, you have to create your login ID on this platform. It is compulsory for every exporter to create a login ID, because any further services which you will take, it is going to be through only a login and a password based system. A very simple method of login is there. As you would have seen on the top right corner, it says login. If you click on login, a simple form will come up where you'll put your name, your surname, your mobile number, your email ID. These two are the valid email and valid mobile number, your PIN code, and that's it. You click on submit OTP. Kamlesh bhai, you will get an OTP on your email as well on your mobile number, both. So it's a double verification. And once you verify that OTP, you will be easily able to create your login ID. Your login ID will be created instantaneously and a password will be available to you on the email. As we all know, any website which creates an automated password, which is called as a temporary password, it will have to be QCOMBTB. Sir, can I have you muted, please? QCOM BTD, can I have you muted, please? Can we mute him? Thank you. I think another gentleman, Mr. Pranab Pal, his mic is also on. Thank you. There is no problem for your mics to be on. I am okay, but it's just that I will allow you to unmute as and when you have a query or question. So you will have a temporary password and you create a login ID. Now, please understand, this just creates you a login ID. It's just an access. Once you will get an access, you will land to a page something like this. It's called the dashboard. Why it is a dashboard? Because all your services related to DGFT will be available through this dashboard. Because most of you or all of you are already having IEC, you will go to an option which says link IEC. So you click on link IEC, put in your IEC number, and the IEC will have to be linked. Obviously, if I know Jainesh Patel, Mr. Jainesh Patel's IEC number, and if I link it on my login, you know, it will be difficult, right? I will know his all details. So to make it more authentic, there are two authentication options which are available. One is the digital signature or an Aadhaar based verification. A digital signature of anybody that is a proprietor, partner, director. Either Jainesh Bhai has his DGFT digital signature, which he uses for MEIS application, or he has a company based DSC or an individual DSC matching with the data already in the IEC. So obviously, I putting Jainesh Bhai's IEC number and I not being a director, obviously it will not get mapped. Hence, it will not get linked. So there's a security feature here because once it is linked, it is an open to Pandora's box. I will see everything. Correct. So it is obviously only possible by Jainesh Bhai who can link it with a DSC. A small software is required to link it. It is called an EM Bridge software, which is the link is available on the DGFT portal so that the DSC can talk to the software to talk to the DGFT portal. The link is available on the portal. It's a very small file which is required to be installed. In any case, let's say Jainesh Bhai doesn't have a DSC or the DSC which is required is not matching available to the requirement of IEC or anything. Then Jainesh Bhai, you have an option also to verify it or authenticate it via Aadhaar number. Now, please understand, we are not talking about company Aadhaar. So I'm not talking about Udyog Aadhaar or Udyam Aadhaar. I'm talking about our individual normal Aadhaar number. So whose Aadhaar number? Again, proprietor, Jainesh Bhai's, or partner, directors, any of the individuals Aadhaar whose name is there already recorded in the IEC. So again, I cannot use my Aadhaar number and verify it because my name will not be there in his IEC. So it will not authenticate. All right. So again, in fact, sometimes he will have a problem even in Aadhaar. The reason being, let's take an example. Jayesh Bhai's Aadhaar card says Mr. Jainesh Patel. But in his PAN card, it is written as Patel Jainesh. Or many of times it has Mr. Jainesh Kumar Patel. You know, there are some mismatch. Unfortunately, that mismatch will not allow him to approve it because it is system and system only understands COLOR color as COLOR color and not COLOUR color. So if Aadhaar has a mismatch of PAN name, the name on the PAN, name on the Aadhaar and the database, it will have a mismatch. So you have two options. Either you use Aadhaar based verification or you use DSC, you will be able to link your data. I completely agree with the department's view that it is very, very important that the data should be secured and it should be only be, it should have this security. Maybe you might have a trouble of linking it. Maybe somebody will say, oh, I don't have a DGFT DSC. Should I have to make a new one? 2,000 रुपया कौन करेगा खर्चा, 5,000 रुपया कौन करेगा खर्चा? I think it's well worth it because the amount of access which is going to give it to you, it's well worth it. Or maybe you link your PAN number and your Aadhaar with the same name exactly and then do it. So get your PAN card or your Aadhaar amended first and then link it here. Then there's no problem. Many times there are issues with date of birth. There could be an error in DOB. So those are the challenges. Otherwise, you link it. Once you link it, let's assume I was just hypothetically thinking about all this problem. Mr. Patel has the DGFT digital signature or an IEC based DGFT digital, or Sandeep Bhai has a key Aadhaar number and it gets verified. So what happens? So this is a matrix which is available of what Aadhaar or what DSC is allowed. Whose it is allowed. So if it's a proprietorship company, it's a proprietor. If it is partnership company, any partner. Limited liability partnership, any partner. Private limited, director. Now director individual token will have to be matched as per Ministry of Corporate Affairs, yani Registrar of Companies website. So this is a matrix which is available to you to give you an update on which digital key or which Aadhaar, whose Aadhaar is going to be accepted. What happens when you link it? The dashboard changes. Earlier, the dashboard was saying link your IEC. Now, when you will log on, I have wiped out the information, but what is here, I'll show you. This center portion will tell you a company name, the IEC code. It will tell you some numbers which will be obviously not updated because we have just migrated to the new system. Once you start using the new system, it will have authenticated numbers like new licenses, new benefits and everything. Is your IEC is valid? So status is valid. It is not suspended or anything. The DEL, in case if your exports have been restricted, you are not under denied entity list. And obviously how many authorizations are issued. So this is just a summary version. But most importantly, it allows you to now access all your data, all your working with DGFT through this login process. Under IEC, what can you do? You can do so much. You can link, you can update your profile. You can update your IEC. And I'll tell you what, many of you, please go back after you have linked it. Okay, let's do one thing, a quick check. This is a Zoom platform. So in the Zoom platform, at the bottom, you have a reaction button. And in the reaction button, give me a thumbs up if you have already created a login. If you have already created a login, give me a thumbs up so I know how many of you have actually created. Meghal Bhai has done it. Mr. Munjal has done it. 2 of you have done it. Okay. So out of 20, only 2. Out of 33, only 2. Is it? Galaxy M31 has done it. Okay.
That's
wow.
Why we have, Meer bhai, we want you to understand. ज्ञान ही नहीं है तो कहाँ से करेंगे?
नहीं सर, उसमें थोड़ा ज्ञान है, but I'll tell you what, honestly, संदीप भाई, थोड़ा ये है कि भाई let's wait till the last moment. And I'll tell you what, you don't need to wait. This is going to remain and it is fantastic system. So once you will open it and people who have already done it, please go back to your IC. You will see a lot of your data unupdated, incorrect, old mobile number, old email ID, information which is stale. Please go back and update your profile. So once you modify your data, what kind of modification you have to do? You might have 2 warehouses. And maybe if you have 2 warehouses in 2 different states, then you'll have 2 GST number, your GST number. All of these details have to be updated so that it is now, because please remember what has happened with this new website is not only that the data is updated and it is working well, the entire data is linked with GST, income tax, that is your PAN, CBDT, and your ROC, Registrar of Companies in case of private limited. So what is happening is all these data are getting linked and the data are getting updated. So if you have a seamless process, if you have updated it, it will be fantastic way to work. Otherwise, you will have a problem at some point of time. Like I'll give you an example. Somebody wanted to import some material at a particular branch and that branch data was not there in the IEC. What happened? He assumed IEC data to immediately update ho jata. Yes, but uska IEC update karne ke liye, when he went, it was a private limited company. and the director which were there, the existing IEC, the directors were no more there, and the directors which were there in the ROC was not matching. So he had to first update that ROC database, come back to IEC, not only update the branch and the details, also update the director's detail. So a lot of forms, a lot of paperwork had to be informed. I'm not saying it's a time consuming, but he had to, the focus was only to add branch, but it was not a just branch. He came up with a big issue of adding multiple people. And then imagine if you get stuck with your Aadhaar not happening or your DSC not available. And we know na ripple effect. एक अगर problem आया तो चार problem लेके आएगा. So it was a matter which could have been resolved in probably one day. Unnecessary created a 1 week or 10 days. And imagine if your import is lying for 10 days, amount of damage you are going to incur. So the cost of not doing it well in advance is that 10 days damage. So please update the IC. In fact, I'll tell you what the beautiful aspect is. If you update your IC and if you update everything as required, a fantastically new IEC certificate in this format is issued to you with latest technology of QR code and information. So an updated IEC certificate is issued to you instantaneously. Unlike what was earlier taking 2 days, 3 days, it is almost instantaneously. And not only instantaneously, I think within few hours, many times I've seen within an hour or less than that, it even gets updated in the custom server. So practically speaking, Sandeep bhai, if you apply IEC modification and do it in the morning, by lunchtime, you can import at the airport your goods with the same address or the updated data. So that's the kind of speed we are looking at. And all of these end-to-end online. You will not require to leave your chair. You'll not require to leave your office. You'll not require to leave your home from where you're working. It doesn't require anything. It requires you to understand. Yes, you'll have to submit online PDF files. You'll have to attach some basic documents. Very simple. If you want to modify something, attach the proof. If you want to, so there is going to be a very system-driven working, but it works fantastically well.
But you will require DSC for each modification, right?
Sir, so just like how we started for login, DSC or Aadhaar, both, either of that verification is always going to happen for any of your submission.
Okay.
So you can verify either through a DSC, which the same which you used for logging the system and linking your IC, or you could use the Aadhaar based verification. Both is available and it is going to be available throughout for all your applications.
A nice system. Let's see how this takes shape.
Yeah. One more important thing which they have done, which is in case assuming let the people who I'm talking and many of you say, sir, why जबरदस्ती IC modify करो, सब बेटा perfect है, up to date है, क्योंकि we have done it probably 2 years back. Fair enough, don't do it. Please go to the profile section of the IC where your one-time information which you require regularly in various applications. I'm sure many of you are, most of us as merchant exporters don't apply for advanced authorization, but I'm sure you are aware of the raw material imports and other things. You might have probably some machines if you want to import under EPCG. Again, merchant exporter don't fall into that, but just in case. So there's a profile option where you save all your one-time information. Your IC detail is already there. Your RCMC would flow in from PharmExcel. If it is not flown in, if the information is not available, please update it here. What happens is this will help you. Let's say your erstwhile MEIS scheme or any new scheme, wherever there is a link to RCMC, the data will be pulled up from here. You don't have to submit a copy every time. Your turnover details, your industrial license or Udyog Aadhaar. Of course, I know there's a challenge with merchant exporters, but whatever is available. Your export turnover, if you are a status holder, then that certificate. So all this profile updating can help you one-time exercise to use it repetitively. So you don't have to every time submit the information again and again. So that data will be available there and there. This IEC modification was the first phase, started way back in July of 2020, after which in November end and early December, they moved to phase 2. The phase 2 is already active 1st of December, where they moved the advanced authorization, the DFIA, the EPCG, all online. And when I say all online, the new advanced authorizations, the amendment in the advanced authorization, if any, EPCG amendment issuance is completely online. The only thing which is at the moment not online in these facility is the redemption or the closure of it, because it still requires a lot of data from the shipping bill and other things. Sooner or later, I'm sure, maybe not very far off, but maybe by 1st of April next year, when we will have, that is April 2021, when we'll have new policy, I think everything will be end-to-end online. So the shipping bill will be online, the data will flow online, your redemption will be online. In fact, I mean, the way the system is looking, Kamlesh bhai, it will so happen that the minute you have data, exports data is already flowing in from the customs. The minute you reach the threshold limit, and let's say you became 1 star, automatically system will only give you, "Acha sir, aap abhi 1 star ho." The minute the system automatically will alert you, कि sir आपका ये license खत्म हो गया है, because the custom data will flow in the system. The payment data will, EBRC data will flow in the system. Your license is already in the system. So it will only tell you your bill of entry data, your import, in case if you're doing anything, will be in the system. So the system will only tell you कि sir ये match हो रहा है, आपका quantity खत्म हो गया, आपका value खत्म हो गया, just submit it, and once you submit it, automatically it will redeem the license itself. If there's any payment or any shortfall, it will tell you, you pay it and the matter ends. So that's going to be as simple as we look at in very near future. And trust me, this is not just a thought, it is something which is going to happen very, very soon. Some conditions in terms of migrating from the old to new. I'm sure many of you are not into advanced authorization because being a merchant exporter, but in case if you are, there are some 2-step process which you have to follow. You have to first get your license amended so that the data which were issued under the old advanced authorization, I mean, when I say old, meaning before 1st of December, the data gets captured in the system, and then all amendment and correction and modification can happen. So you have to apply under first amendment, and then you can go for revalidation or EO extension or clubbing or any of those processes. So this is for the DGFT online platform. Just to add, steel import, of course, you're not doing to steel import, is also online through the login. In case of any query you want to raise to DGFT, we all remember, I don't know if, how many of you used it, but there was a very nice initiative done way back about, I think 2 years back. It was called contact at DGFT. So contact at DGFT was an online, like you have in the GST, you have this ticket referencing where you could create a query and system would be generating a query number, and then it would go to the relevant officer. Now that is already there. It is in the help desk service. But the difference is now that is part of the login system. So nobody else. So I cannot just raise a ticket without having a login. So if you have any query, if you want to raise any ticket, if you want to raise any issue, you will have to have a login, and only then you can, do it. Days cannot be very far where probably your old MEIS, which is pending for 1920 and 2021, which is right now outside the system, may also be included in the system. It could be routed through the system, and only through system it will be available. So except for the 3 people who have said they have registered, my request to each and every one. So we have about 37. I removed 3 and 4. So 33 people who are there, and assuming multiple people joining from the same company, at least about 25 companies need to register your login. Please do that today. And trust me, it will not take more than 15 minutes of your time. It's as simple as it can get. I'll tell you, just because we are on that talk, in fact, if there are directors and the management of these companies, there's a very fantastic feature they have added is, once you create a login, there's an also option where you can create users, and then you can have your subordinates, your staff being given an ID, and then they will be able to access. So let's assume you given access to one of your team who will only deal with IEC related matters. So he can only raise IEC issues. Somebody you have given advanced license or other license, only those will be done there. So that is also a feature which is available after you create your main login ID and once you have linked your IC. So it is not restricted at, what happens if my login ID password is leaked or something. There are a lot of security and a lot of data processes which are available to you. Okay, coming further, there's a process where we all submit certificate of origin. as we all know, there are certain countries where we have free trade agreements. India, ASEAN, India, Korea, India, Japan, India, Mercosur, India, Sri Lanka, SAPTA, APTA. Now, all these certificate of origin earlier were issued by the inspection agency, that is Export Inspection Agency, manually. They have moved online. They started with 3 forms. They've added new forms. This is the portal. Unfortunately, at this point of time, this portal is outside the DGFT entire system, which we just talked about. So there is a different portal called coo.dgft.gov.in. It takes the data from your IC only. You will have to create a separate login ID for this. Please note, for login and for submission for this portal, you will strictly require DGFT digital signature. You will strictly require a DGFT digital signature. The one which you are using for MEIS, if I have to add you and explain you in simple words. If you do not have a DGFT digital signature, you can make it. It will help you in creating login. It will help you in this. It will help you everywhere. So you will have to create a login ID here, which is a separate login ID. You don't have any documents to attach, but it will have to be done through an online process. Very simple, 1-step process or 2-step process. You have to just mention your IC number, select the branches, confirm the data, and submit it. They will issue your login ID and a password. You are ready to apply for all preferential certificate of origin. Now they have increased from 3, they've added 6 more in April. So APTA, that is India ASEAN, which many of you might be taking advantage of, India Japan, SAARC, India Sri Lanka, APTA, they are all online on the portal. And when I say online, meaning you cannot, even if you want to, you cannot apply it manually. It is end-to-end online. Very recently they added, not recently, but in October they added 4 more of the free trade agreements. So the GSP and the GSTP is added, India, Malaysia, and India, Singapore. All these free trade agreements have been added online mode. And very recently they have added the UK GSP. If you look at it, they started with 3, they added 6, so it became 9. After 9, they added another 4, and then this 5th one. So almost 14 free trade agreements are completely online on the COO portal. I've been using this, and let me tell you, it is fantastic model. It starts, everything is online. You have an option to select the agencies which are allowed to issue the certificate of origin preferential, and end to end. It is online. Even if the department raises a query, you have to reply it online, attach the notification, the submissions online, and finally a QR code digitally signed preferential certificate of origin is issued online. Because of COVID, there could be delay in submissions of documents. So department has already provided you the option of retrospective or retroactive certification, and you could, go and work on this. All right. Sanjay bhai, you were using agent to do AIFPA. How simple is it to apply for yourself? Well, Sanjay bhai, 2 things to look at it, Mr. Sanjay Singh. If you're using an external agency for knowledge sake, I think obviously either you have to derive the knowledge or you have to seek someone else's help. If you're using the services of somebody else as an agent because it was manually easier for that person to go depute somebody, work around and then get it, I think it's easier now. It's online, you can do it. So whether you want to use anybody a service or you want to do it online, will depend upon what is the reason you are going with the agent. If is it knowledge, I think unless you get the complete knowledge and understanding of it, which of course you can, because now it is end-to-end online, you may want to use services of somebody, but if not, you are free to do it online. You can yourself do it. That's not a problem. It's not a rocket science.
So nearby, see, recently due to the overload, issue of certification gets a little bit delayed. So
yes, sir, it does.
They have their own personal relationship with the issuing officer. So they are able to get it done on priority. So if I do it
Sir,
on online, how easy or difficult would it be to actually handle such a
sir,
situation?
honestly speaking, now nobody, including those people, will have any access because you don't even know who gets it
Okay,
unless, because now it is system driven.
okay,
I'll give you a live example. Currently, I have a customer of mine. We have submitted three COO. They are pending from 21st of January.
okay,
So I understand there sometimes becomes challenging, but please understand, now it is online for everyone, and
okay,
nobody would know that whether it is going to go to Mr. Sanjay or is it going to go to Mr. Kamlesh or Sandeep Bhai, who is going to actually do it,
okay,
because it's a system which will decide.
okay,
And even if let's assume they know or they are able to trace it, um, it depends upon how really it is going to impact it. Now, I do understand sometimes it is possible that if you do, it will take about 3, 4, 5 days, and somebody else is done because of the reasons it gets faster done. Then you'll have to weigh the reason. That's what I'm saying. What is the reason why you want to get it done?
okay,
Yeah, but everything is online now. Even if he has to do, he has to do online. He cannot go physically and do it, or he has no other. Nobody else has any other way to do it.
okay, okay. Thanks.
Uh, of course, not directly relevant to each one of you, but just as an information. As we were saying, all is moved online. Very recently, from 25th of January, DGFT's PRC, that is Policy Relaxation Committee, the committee which takes care of any policy liberal. Example, you have to export within, let's say, 1 year. You have not done in 1 year. You have done in 1 year, 10 months, or 1 year, 1 month. And you want to seek an exemption that please allow, I've done it now. I've done it instead of 12 months, I've done it in 13 months. Now, obviously, the regional authority does not have a power. You will have to go to the PRC, and PRC may give you that, leeway. Earlier, this was all manual, is now been done away with, end to end, even submission of documents, filing, queries by PRC, and final notification is going to be completely online. So PRC, effective of 25th of January, is come online. The existing initiative which are already there, EBRC, we know it is online. There is no change there. All incentives are issued online, so there is no actually physical issuance of anything. Almost zero. I mean, your advanced license, your EPCG, your MEIS, all are PDF based files which you have to just download it. In erstwhile MEIS and service sector SEIS, the transfer is online. So everything is online. Now we are just making it better. We are making it more better. We are making it more easier. So the second agency which we interact with post DGFT is customs. So obviously DGFT takes care of the policy and the procedural aspect. Custom is the one from where we ship the goods out. So when we talk about customs, CBIC has a dedicated portal called IceGate, ICEGATE, icegate.gov.in. Please understand, we've already moved to an online paperless mechanism in export as well as import. We have already done this. Earlier, you would have noted, if I'm sure many of you are veterans in the exports, when you used to submit invoice and packing list, there used to be stamp of superintendent of custom on your invoice and packing list. फिर बंद हो गया. अभी तो आप invoice देना है भी जरूरत नहीं है, because you send a scanned copy of invoice PDF file, your CHA, your custom broker actually attaches it online. Nobody submits any physical documents whatsoever. Even if you require any NOC or ADC license, they are all online through Swift on eSanchit platform, linked to your shipping bill and to your bill of entry. So complete online digital medium is used. You have to use the logins on the IceGate and it will help you to link it. Now, all of you will require a IceGate login. IceGate, obviously the custom system. Now, I do understand somebody telling me and, making a real valid point. Sir, DGFT का अलग login, IceGate का अलग login, ये कितने login है? But it is very simple. IceGate and custom comes under Ministry of Finance. It's a different entity. DGFT comes under Ministry of Commerce. This is a different entity. So please understand, We have to live with whatever the structure is. So you will have an IceGate login. You will have to create a login. Many of you had already created a login via what is called as simplified registration. In between period mein, because people who wanted to view their GST refund status, Customs had created this option where you could get a simplified registration where no document were asked. A temporary password was generated based on your IEC and the GST certificate verification in the system, and department would give you a temporary password. Based on that temporary password, you could see the data. You could see your IceGate, IGST refund process, scroll and everything. But please understand, you could not upload anything. My request to every one of you is, if you have a simplified registration, please deactivate it. There's an option under the menu under the IceGate registration where you can deactivate your registration, your IceGate login ID, and fresh apply for your IceGate login with the DSC. Because only with DSC login, you will be able to upload documentation, see your documentation, and let me tell you, in future, deal for the ROTTEP scheme which is going to come. So if you do not have the IceGate login duly DSC certified, please look at it. You'll have to do it through the DSC option. There are basically 3-4 documents, very simple documents. One is your IEC copy, PDF. I'll stand corrected here because I was just happened to see yesterday. The PDF file size is not changed, not 100 KB now. They have extended it to 500 KB. So, so that compression is okay. So IEC scan copy, 500 KB file. Authority letter, in case if you're a partner, proprietor, partner, director, you have to authorize that person. Now, many times somebody says, sir, मैं proprietor हूँ, मैं अपने आप को authorize कैसे करूँ? I'm sorry, you have to do it. So authorize it. In case of partners, the other partners have to do it. In case of directors, I prefer a board resolution saying that Mr. So-and-so is authorized to apply login with IceGate. Whoever is the individual who is applying it, his Aadhaar, driving license, passport copy. There's a list of port code which you select. Now, please note at these 2 things. This is important. This is different. You will require a class 3 signature, a DSC class 3 in name of that individual to create a login ID on the IceGate portal. Now that class 3 signature could be your income tax. Your class 3 signature could be your GST. But let me tell you, if you have a DSC, which is your DGFT digital signature, issued before 1st of January, 100% it is class 2 signature and it will not work. It will work on DGFT portal, but it will not work here. And for the record, from 1st of January 2021, class 2 signatures, new class 2 signatures are no more issued. The department, the certifying authority has stopped issuing class 2 signatures. So now in future, it will be class 3. But if you are having if you're having GST class 3 or your individual income tax class 3, I have no problems. It will work here. It can be of any one of the partner director. It doesn't matter because ultimately you'll get login ID and password. You can use it. So in case you say, sir, I have one partner, I don't have a class 3, मेरा class 2 है, मेरे दूसरे director का class 3 है. Can I use? Yes, you can. Ashish bhai, yes, if you have registered under the IceGate, you can go to your profile, and in the profile, your DSC details will be there. If your DSC details are not there, it will automatically tell you, it will automatically clear that you have not, you have not logged in through IceGate. I mean, through the DSC option. Second, Ashish bhai, there's another option. Obviously, you can simply do is, if you click at ROTTEP, the option which will come, which is already flashing there, it will tell you you are not authorized to do this operation because you are not registered via DSC. If you're only registered via DSC, only then it allows you to do the needful. So that 2 checks can confirm whether you are you have created that login with help of a DSC or not. The process works best with Internet Explorer 11 and above and the latest Java. Now I'll tell you half of the problem. half of the problem in the system is because of your internal antivirus, your company's internal restrictions. So many company have their firewalls and protection done on their staff computers and laptops, so they are unable to do it. So maybe you'll have to then take help of the IT guy who will have to allow you to do certain installations and certain updations. So don't just blame the website. It is actually many times your laptop or your desktop. The entire advisory related to IceGate is available on the portal. In fact, now even for your AD code registration, that is the AD code is authorized dealer, that is your bank code, for you to register where you're going to give the payment, you will have to register it there. You will have to register online. So the entire process is online. Jainesh bhai, from 1st of January, class 3, but yes, from 1st of January, it will only be class 3. But in class 3, there are various segments, like you'd use a normal class 3 DSC. However, if you have to use a DGFT, which will now be a class 3, but you have to make sure it is DGFT, because then in that DSC, separately, there's an information which is your IC number is captured. If you only use a class 3 DSC, that is on 1st of, let's say today you go and get a class 3 signature, normal class 3 signature, it is a class 3 signature, but it will not have a IC number. It is good for your income tax, it is good for GST, but it is not good for DGFT. So ideally speaking, if you have a DGFT DSC issued after January 21, which is a DGFT DSC, I think most likely it works for everywhere, because it is a class 3, it has an IC number, it has your details as well. So a class 3 DSC, it will work in IceGate as well because it's a class 3 signature. So it's about the internal masala inside it, what is there, and DGFT captures through IC number only. As we all know, custom has already become paperless from 22nd of June, thanks to many people who became, who got their eyesights rectified because of the, excellent print quality of the shipping bill, right? So it was so fantastic that I had to get my eyes checked twice a year only because I was not able to identify a 0 hai ke 6 hai. And Jainesh bhai agrees it, because Jainesh bhai actually started looking at a number as 666 until he went to the last page and malum pada ye to 9 hai. Right? So the good news is that print copies have been stopped. We have moved to a digital PDF file, and it is fantastic. Trust me, the kind of information you feel, अच्छा हमने कुछ अच्छा काम किया है, export किया है, अच्छा document आया है, and you're able to get information in a really a manner which you would want to retrieve. I mean, in a very simple language, you are happy to read the shipping bill. Okay, yes, you have information, and the good news is that it is already PDF. Now, the advantage of you getting IceGate login, meaning you registering your email ID, the minute your shipping bill is filed, you will get a PDF file email automatically on your email ID. After Leo, also the post Leo copy, also the PDF file will come to you on your email. So you don't have to wait for your CHA or a custom broker to give you the copy. It will automatically come to you. In case if it is not coming to you, please ask your CHA. Your custom broker will be in a position to send you on email. Let me clarify once for all of you, because many of you are asking. Neither in IceGate, neither anywhere at this point of time, there is no method where you can log in and go and download your PDF shipping bills. Ye available nahi hai. Data is available. You can put your shipping bill detail and the data will come, a specific details will come. But can I go and download? Let's assume Sandeep bhai doesn't have one shipping bill and he says, "Arey yaar, nahi mil raha hai." So can I go? Like how you open your bank account and download a statement, monthly statement? That's not possible. So please note that's not possible. Live Health Biopharma. How can we change mail ID? Sir, there is a very, if you already have a login ID. Hello. Yeah. If you already have a login ID, please log in the profile option. There's an option change email. You can go and change your email ID, not to worry. If you do not have a login ID, then obviously first create login ID and then change it. If you already have a login ID, then in the profile option, there's an option to change or update your email ID. It's possible to do that, not to worry. So as far as IceGate is concerned, now everything is getting online, even at the IceGate. So AD bank, meaning the bank where your payment is going to come, or bank account details where your incentives, your GST, your drawback, refunds are going to come. It is going to be online. So any information you want, you have to update it online. There is a specific document list. And I want to tell people, this is where people suffer a lot. It takes a lot of time in many cases. There is this public notice by Jawar Custom House, JNCH, though it can be applied to any port, but JNCH public notice is, I think, what people are using across the ports. If you want to add a AD bank is where your payment is going to come. Okay, please understand, AD bank is the bank where your money is going to come from the foreign buyer. Or if you want to add a bank account where you want your money of drawback or IGST refund to come, both the cases, there is list of documents. There are 6 documents which you have to upload. There's an annexure A, there's an IC copy, there's a GST registration, PAN card of the company, PAN card of the person, and a cancel check. Now let me be very clear. These 6 files have to be, or 6 pages have to be uploaded in one single PDF file. Do not make 6 PDF, because you have an option only to upload one single PDF against the bank certifications. Now, if you attach only an annexure A, there'll be an error saying that you have not uploaded all the documents. So you will have to have only one PDF having all this 6 information in 6-7 pages, and it will take care of it. Muriel, can we add one more bank account in the AD remittance? I think it is not happening. At the moment in the system, it is taking port-wise only one AD code.
The question
yes,
here is,
Sandeep bhai, yes.
There are certain issues here. We need to address this, because what I have observed, I have asked for this Sahar Air Cargo. I have changed my bank, right? But that change is not reflected in JNPT. So that change I have to reflect in JNPT also. I have to apply and get it changed, because earlier this was not system. If I change in Sahar Air Cargo, it would have reflected in all the ports. But now I think we have to apply at every port for separate thing. I think so.
Yes, you have to update it in. You have to update it even in Nhava Sheva as well. So every port you have to update it separately, because let's say honestly, Sandeep bhai, you can have 2 AD codes and you can say मेरा पैसा Nhava Sheva से जो जा रहा है वो अलग बैंक अकाउंट में आएगा, एयर कार्गो का अलग से आएगा.
वैसे ही हो रहा है अभी.
No, but this is a facility available, na? If you want it at same place, you have to mention it at same place. So you'll have to change it there.
Yeah, but then now I have to close the account of one bank, and I changed the bank. So I changed it at Sahar Air Cargo, but I have not changed it at JNPT. But the JNPT benefits are coming to my old account only. I have not yet closed that account. I wanted to confirm that it has been closed. But ये उधर भी अपने को change करना पड़ेगा. We have to change at every port, I think so.
Yes, you have to. I agree to you. You have to change it at every port.
And JNPT is only preferring online. Sahar Air Cargo is doing offline.
Okay, so this is one practical solution which Sandeep bhai also.
These things nearby we will discuss, and we have to give some representation either to DGFT or customs, because this needs to be corrected. All things we are doing online and under a single roof, everything is doing very well. But these small things they are keeping, to earn 500 rupees, 1000 rupees to the cashiers, or
No, that is not. I feel it's not about even cash. I feel it's more about irritant issue. Sometimes what happens is I've seen issue where everything, let's say you have updated everything, Nhava Sheva or Air Cargo or whatever, one port, it gets updated successfully. Another port, it keeps on giving you queries and errors. Now, I mean, logically, it doesn't make sense. You have used the same document, you have used the same process, but एक port पे हो जाता है, दूसरे port में error आ रहा है.
Mm.
So I agree to you, but at the moment, this is how it is, but we can take that issue. Jainesh, mandatory AD code registration, separate airport, seaport is scrapped or still it used? So mandatory AD code, it's there. You have no choice. So because the logic is, when you export for the first time, you have an option to decide where you want the money to come, in which bank account. Now you might be banking with multiple banks. So it's a different way. The way the department is looking at, I don't know where you want the money to come. So you tell us in which bank the money should come, because now when you export and the shipping bill is mapped to one AD, it will go, the data will flow to his EDPMS system as well. And it will remain outstanding. Now imagine if you have asked they put it in the Bank of Baroda and then the payment comes to, let's say, Standard Chartered, then you'll have to do all those jugglery to get the payment resolved. Otherwise, it will remain outstanding. So to avoid that, they are giving you an option. But you'll have to do it once for once, yes. The bank raised query for AD transfer. Muriel, I am not too sure what query it is. I can come back to you once. Let me just quickly finish this and then specifically understand what was the issue. But if I understand, Muriel, but one thing is, yeah, I see there's a problem. I have come across that if I want in the same port, I'm unable to add 2 AD codes. Admin, we are making account in banks. Both AD codes are mandatory to register. No, sir. The one in which you want in which the payment is going to come. If you've already registered and you're not wanting to change, I think then there's no problem. Please don't go again and change it. And I am aware of it that earlier when it was manual, you could have multiple AD codes at the same port. So let's say at air cargo, you could have 2 AD codes registered, and then every time your custom broker could select and file the shipping bill. I think in the online, there's a problem. It doesn't allow you for the same port code more than 1 AD code. It says AD code already exists. So if let's say I have a bank at air cargo, Sahar Air Cargo, I cannot change and add another AD code and then take a choice. Let's say example, I have an export to Europe and I want to bring it in Bank of Baroda, and my exports to Dubai, I want to bring it in say ICICI Bank. This is how I want to function, because this is how I've got my finance set up in both the banks. Unfortunately, I think it's not working. It's only working with there. But if you already have done this in the offline mode, there's no need to go online. And an update what Sandeep Bhai has added is Air Cargo Sahar accepts manually. So if that being so, you can update it manually as well. The bank certificate required for the banker is in Annexure 1, Annexure A by that public notice. So yeah, can we change bank details for export incentives? Archana, yes, you can change it. That is basically your IGST refund and drawback. You have to certainly do it online, and you have to follow this Annexure A plus the other 5 documents as in the notification, public notice. One of the most common error when you log in and create your login ID with IceGate. So I want to, do away with this myth. This is available in the advisory on the IceGate login. PKI error or PKI compatibility issue or PKI something. Okay. This is not PK movie. It is PKI is private key instrument. It is a digital key problem. Very simple. First and foremost, no fancy software, no fancy browser. Internet Explorer 11 and above will only work. So if you are using Firefox or Mozilla Firefox, or you're using some other browser or Safari, I'm sorry, it will not work. You'll have to use Internet Explorer 11 or above. You will have to have a Java installed on it. And what you'll have to do is, there is an option under the Internet Explorer. I'll just zoom this for you. So this is Internet Explorer. On the extreme right corner where you have this gear icon, which is settings, there's an option called compatibility view. Click on that. It will automatically capture IceGate, add it to the system. And once you add it, this is already available. This is shown in the advisory. I have showed you live. This will add, and once you add it, this PKI error will not come. Second thing which you need to do is make sure your Java is updated. So Java doesn't block it. So if you have installed the latest Java, go to Java settings, go to the security tab, again, add the list, type in icegate.gov, add it to the exception list, meaning it will not block it. And once both of these things is done, I have 99% of the time found PKI error not happening. Again, let me tell you this very clearly. Maximum problem happens because either you have a firewall, you have an antivirus, you have some download protection, you have your company restrictions, and hence many times it doesn't work. Socomed, you have heard IE will not be available. I know, sir. I think Microsoft have started Edge. Until this time, at least CBIC is working on IceGate for this Java related issues, I believe. The new portal which DGFT is prepared works very fantastically well on Google Chrome and other platforms. And that I told you that EM Bridge, the app or the software which they have asked to download, I think that's the connector before these browsers for the DSC and the Java bit. I'm not too sure when IceGate will migrate or when IceGate will get updated. Will they do it or will they not? So we'll have to wait till that or someday when IE collapses. But at least once you have a login ID created, I have seen that it works on any browser. It is the only issue is creating login ID, and that is because you have to use the DSC. Once you have used the DSC, so wherever DSC is issue, where you have to use DSC, meaning you have to apply it, that is a time where actually IE is an issue or IE is required. After you have got a login ID, let's say Mr. Singh has a login ID already, then he can use the login ID and password which is generated and he can use on Google Chrome or Firefox. That's not a problem. It is only where he has to, now, but if he wants to upload something which requires him to sign via DSC, then again the problem is because of the Java and the connectivity. So we've talked about DGFT, we've talked about customs and the update. I'm sure that will give you an overview of it. I'm sure many of you might have some question. So if you have any questions, I can take it right now or take it after ROTTEP, whatever suits best to you. Any queries? Sandeep bhai or anybody?
Mr. Mihir, I have a query. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Mishra. Yes, please.
Yeah. So initially you mentioned that we can either register on the DGFT with DSC or else Aadhaar verification. And subsequently, whenever there is a submission to be done or an upload, at that time you would again need to be verified with either DSC or Aadhaar. So
Yes.
I want to just know whether the first time when we register, if we use a DSC, for example, then later on, every time we have to only use a DSC or we can use either Aadhaar or DSC.
Every time you have an option.
Okay, every time we get an option to use either of these two.
So basically for authenticating anything on DGFT website, the new website has given you two options. Today you might do DSC, tomorrow you might do so let's say if you have 3 applications.
Right.
Today, let's say DSC is not available with you, you can do with Aadhaar, submit the application. Tomorrow DSC is available, you do DSC, allowed.
Okay, understood. And second question was that you mentioned after 1st of January 21, the DGFT will be only issuing class 3 DSC.
DGFT never issues any digital signature. It is the issuing authority, the certificate.
CA. Sorry, I think the DSC will be class 3 from 1st January onwards. So after 1st January, if we have taken our class 3 DGFT signature, then can we use that for IceGate or we need to take a separate one?
No, you can. You certainly can. So if you have a class 3 DGFT digital signature, I think it will work both. Currently, it will work on both the platforms.
Okay. Understood. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any further questions? Anyone? अच्छा, समझा नहीं समझा, good, better, bad, worst, कुछ reaction on the chat, or everybody is gone for a cup of coffee? संदीप भाई आपने सिर्फ members को report नहीं.
I'm shifting to my mobile.
Yes,
I think this was very important. Small things which we ignore. Thanks for getting it highlighted and getting it. Main thing was getting registered for DGFT. That's very important takeaway point of this first session.
But I don't know, Sandeep bhai, I was waiting. I was told that you and FPME are going to send us Zomato code for the coffee in the webinar. वो Zomato code आया नहीं सर अभी तक.
वो sponsor गायब हो गया last moment.
अच्छा, otherwise I thought I was waiting.
Pharma आपको शायद वो sponsor वो गायब हो गया last moment पे. चलो,
good.
चलो, I'm joining through mobile phone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Let's come to the next topic. Very relevant at this point of time is ROTTEP. I have divided ROTTEP into few pointers for you, just for us to understand. The background, why and what ROTTEP came, what is WTO issue, when did the ROTTEP announcement happen, the data collection for the percentages, then the fantastic news on 31st of December evening, the advisory, what are you supposed to do, and what are the IceGate modalities. In spite of I knowing that everyone is eagerly waiting, let me tell you at this point of time, many of information is actually more of academic rather than workable solution. I mean, bottom line, if Kamlesh bhai has to tomorrow give a quote and he says, Mir bhai, ROTTEP mein kya milega, kya nahi, mere ko batao, to main aage kaam karu. I don't have an answer to it because rates are not announced. So it is more of academic, but at the same time, you also have to be prepared so that whenever the rate gets announced, we know what is the background. How are we going to look at it? So if I have to talk about background, what has actually happened is
Bola.
in 2018.
631.
Okay, somebody is giving me somebody's password. Wow. Acha, chalo, band ho gaya. Very good. So on 14th of March 2018, United States of America actually filed a consultation saying India has passed the GNP limit of $1,000 per annum per capita, and all or many of his incentives given to the exporters are violation of the SCM agreement of the WTO, Subsidies and Countervailing Measures Agreement. The matter was taken up. In fact, few other countries have joined into that consultation, and matter was accepted in the WTO, meaning sort of you can say a complaint was accepted. The submissions were done by India, hearing was done, but finally on 31st of October 2019, the committee pronounced its decision saying they found out that certain schemes like EOU, EPCG, MEIS were in contravention to the SCM agreement and they should be withdrawn or amended. MEIS had to be withdrawn, by the way. India appealed on 22nd of November 2019. However, in the WTO, there is no appellate tribunal formed as of date. Provision of appeal is there, but tribunal is not there. So the matter is sub judice, it is pending in the WTO. However, knowing the background that, okay, it is non-compliant or it is sounding non-compliant, India proactively took a step and thus decided that we will want to have a new scheme which is more WTO compliant. So way back on September 14th, 2019, when the FM was announcing the measures related to the growth and the economic boost, one of the slides, and I remember this was one of the first time where we saw a FM doing a slide presentation to the press meet. And one of the slides clarified and provided this information by the FM, because generally incentives and we talk about benefits by the commerce, not by FM. But finance minister provided that ROTTEP will come. It will come in replace of MEIS. It will replace the other schemes like ROSL and other things. And it will be more or less by 31st of December 2019. Now this was in September, so we had good time. By 31st of December 2019, ROTTEP will come into existence. Unfortunately, by 31st of December, nothing, no ROTTEP came. Only thing is there was some MEIS rates, that MEIS rates 2%, which was the additional rate that was removed. In fact, ROTTEP got its committee of cabinet approval only in March 13 March 2020. So only in March 2020, the cabinet approved the ROTTEP scheme. And as we know, 13th March is very, very close to the lockdown period or the COVID pandemic crisis. Meanwhile, DGFT, which was supposed to have a new policy on 1st of April, announced or notified that this policy will continue for one more year. So MEIS will also continue, and that was announced separately on 15th of April. For 31st, and it was announced that it will be continued until 31st of December or until the ROTTEP rates are announced. So MEIS was continued. On 1st of September 2020, a notification was issued, and there were two things. One, there was a capping or ceiling done on MEIS for a period of September, October, November, December, maximum of 2 crores per IC and certain other restrictions. But there was this one second amendment which was done, that para 3.04b was added to the policy, which said benefits under MEIS will not be available effective of 1st January 2021. Meaning that MEIS would get closed by 31st of December. No further notification has been announced, which means effectively, technically from 1st of January 2021, RODTEP or no RODTEP, MEIS was shut. With this background, it was very clear that RODTEP was supposed to come by 1st of January. Now, when we talk about RODTEP, we also need to understand what was the way of RODTEP and working of RODTEP. I'm sure many of you would have received, especially large exporters. I know most of you are merchant exporters, but at least you would have received information from your fellow colleagues, your manufacturers, that government was collecting data to form the RODTEP rates. Earlier, it started in November of 2019. Then again in July 2020, the finance ministry appointed Sri G.K. Pillai, the former secretary, commerce secretary, and under his committee, under his chairmanship, the G.K. Pillai committee again collected the RODTEP data to form the rates for the RODTEP. The data basically, or the RODTEP actually, why it is going to be different than the MEIS scheme is MEIS had a rate which was supposed to be providing some benefit. It was an incentive, 2%, 3%, 5%. There was no technically any background of why 2% or 3% should be given. But now, Jainesh Bhai, Sanjay Bhai, Kamlesh Bhai, the working was done where the duties which you have actually paid and it is not offsetted. Example, when you ship the cargo, when you transport the cargo from your godown to the port, all right, you pay transport charges. In transport charges, there is fuel which is used, petrol, diesel. Now on the diesel, there is an excise duty. There's a VAT. Now this excise and VAT doesn't get credited back to you because there is no GST. So that excise duty and VAT is considered in the part of RODTEP. When you manufacture, or not even manufacture, in your case, let's say you store goods, you have an office, you pay electricity, and in electricity, there's an electricity duty. That doesn't get offsetted to you. In many cases, you register documents where stamp duty is paid for export transaction. Maybe you're taking some funding, so that stamp duty charges are not refunded. So and so forth. Various charges which are not refunded to you in any format are calculated in RODTEP. There were entire Excel sheet data which was collected. R1, R2, R3 is the format under which the data was collected. And based on that, I'm sure the final stages or almost the data is available to the committee, and the committee would have been in a very position to announce the data very soon, hopefully. On 31st of December, as the MEIS was supposed to be closed, so we were waiting, but until 8 o'clock, I believe actually it is, as the press note timing printed on the press note says 8:40. So I'm going to take that as a timing. So on 31st December evening, 8:40 p.m., a press note was issued by the Ministry of Finance. The press note said three things. Number one, RODTEP will be effective from 1st of January 2021. Number two, the rates will be notified at a later date as per the G.K. Pillai committee's recommendation. And number three, that the RODTEP rates, whenever announced, will be actually effective from 1st of January. Along with the press note, there was an advisory issue dated 1st of January. And now this is where, you know, the real part is. This is all about academics, the real part. The real part is that the advisory had a lot of information. A lot of information about how the rates are calculated, what. So the advisory can be split into three parts. Number one, overall understanding of the scheme. Number two, the procedure of how it will go into the credit ledger on the ICE gate, how you will transfer it, how you will use it, what you will do. So those are the procedures and processes given. At this point of time, I think it is practically not usable because there is no RODTEP rate. So you cannot do anything. So that information at this point of this juncture, I think it is information for the future. And lastly, which is the most important and critical information, is the information which you are supposed to use to declare it on the shipping bill and on the invoice so that you can claim ROTTEP whenever the rates are announced. So ROTTEP is going to be declared on the HSN code base. So an exporter who wants ROTTEP has to declare it in the shipping bill at the each line item or HSN level, shipping bill line item level. Irrespective of the date of the notification of the rates, it will be available from 1st of January. The process is declared in Annexure 1 and a declaration is available in Annexure B. Now, this information, which confused many exporters, as an exporter, you are supposed to be aware of it. I'll explain you how to look at it, verify it. You are not the person who's going to actually do it. So what it says is in the shipping bill, if you want to claim ROTTEP, you have to mention in the shipping bill at a certain place that RDT or DTY, that is information type, and info code ROTTEPY, RODTPY. Y means yes. Where it has to be? It has to be there in the column which is called SW info type. What is SW? Single window information type. ये आपके लिए नहीं है, ये CHA या कस्टम ब्रोकर के लिए है, बिकॉज वो ये समझता है. सेम वे सिंगल विंडो डिक्लेरेशन में RD001 जो डिक्लेरेशन है वो आपको देना है. Now, how as an exporter you are supposed to do it? What you are supposed to do it? You are supposed to declare that you want to claim ROTTEP on your invoice, and you have to give that declaration Annexure B. That are 3 paragraphs on your invoice. ये आपको करना है. क्यों करना है? Because based on that, CHA will declare it in the shipping bill. How will you know that CHA is correctly declared? So when you get the checklist, please go to the checklist page number 3, 4, and further, baby. As you will see it in one of these checklists, this is one of the samples of the checklist. You will see here, it says single window, product information. At every line item, there are 3 line items, and it says ROTTEP by, ROTTEP by, ROTTEP by. In the same there it says declaration RD01, and it gives the declaration for item number 1, this is for item number 2, and this is for item number 3. This is one format of the checklist. There are people who are using some other software. You will see something like this. If you see the code RDT ROTTEP by, this is for invoice number, this is for item serial number 1, 1 by 1. 1 by 1 ROTTEP by, 1 by 2 ROTTEP by. Declaration RD001. Here the entire wordings are not there. RD001 is there. It is good enough. So whatever be it, you have to check in the checklist, is this declaration properly done? And based on that declaration, obviously in the shipping bill also ROTTEP by will get printed. On your shipping bill in the D column, which is again page number 3 onwards, I believe, you will see single window declaration, and you will see against each item ROTTEP Y. My personal observation is, I can stand corrected. Any of the exporter, you can want to highlight this. Please come, let me know after I finish my session. But what I understand is ROTTEP Y gets printed here. It is seen, but RD001 is not seen in the final shipping bill in the PDF file. But not to worry, if it is here declared ROTTEP Y, it should be good enough. Even on the first page of your shipping bill, like you have the drawback value, you have the ROTTEP by ROTTEP amount. Please ignore ROTTEP amount. If this is 1, 2, 100, 500 does not matter, because this is not to be worried about. And it's not me who is saying, I'll show you. It is available on the IceGate portal. It very clearly says, and I'll read it for you. Exporters are getting ROTTEP amount indicated in their shipping bill. It is a notional amount calculated at the dummy rate, since final rates are not notified. The actual ROTTEP benefit will be available as per the actual rate to the exporters after notified. So please be very clear, that's a dummy rate. Don't worry about whether it is 100 or 500 or 600. This is the declaration which is given in Annexure B of the advisory. I believe you should just simply put this declaration on your invoice so that it is easier for you and your CHA to accept it. Finally, just for you to update, just at this juncture, it is not going to hatch any eggs because there is no rate, but just for your information. How are you going to be using the ROTTEP and the ROTTEP things? It is going to be completely IceGate driven, meaning it is custom driven. Nothing on the DGFT portal, nothing with the Ministry of Commerce. It is custom and it will be at the IceGate portal. So you obviously need an IceGate login. We've already discussed that, how to get it. You have when you log in the menu bar, you will have ROTTEP option. You click on that, option will come up for you to create a ledger. And once you create the ledger, which is just one-time exercise, after that, and assuming the rates get announced, after your every shipment, the ROTTEP amounts will be created and it will be available. You will have an option to select the shipping bills, merge it, create one what is called as ROTTEP script, just like how you were having MEIS script. This is going to be called as ROTTEP script, and then you can use that script either for your imports or you can transfer it. Many questions are yet to be answered, but I think those questions, as and when the ROTTEP rates and the procedure will come out, we will understand how, what, where transfer, how to use it, what are the modalities, will it be instantaneous, will it take some time, and so on and so forth. All right. There are system-driven processes, so the scroll will be generated based on your declaration of ROTTEP Y. It will be clubbed. You can uplist it. This is what exactly I've told you. You can use it for import duty and all. Now, what I am significantly wanting all of you to understand is this, the last line. It may be noted that if ROTTEP Y, remember this was the same problem in MEIS also, reward Y. If you have not declared ROTTEP Y, after your EGM, nothing will be possible. So ya to yes, ya to no, compulsory dalna hai. And once you have said yes, only then you will get ROTTEP. If it is no, sorry, nobody can do anything. So whether you know or you don't know, remember ROTTEP Y dalna zaruri hai. If you want to claim ROTTEP, you may say yes and not claim. It's a different story in case if it's not eligible. But ROTTEP Y nahi hoga in the relevant field. You might give a declaration. Many people say, should I put a declaration of intent? You know, marks and numbers maybe used to put in the MEIS era. I don't care whether you put it there or not, but ROTTEP Y in the relevant field on your shipping bill is compulsory. Let's look at the one last point. There is certain issues, and let me alert on it. Of course, may not directly deal with you, because as a merchant exporter, you don't use advance authorization or you are not using DFIA. But at this point of time, advance authorization holders, EOUs, DFIA holders are not eligible for ROTTEP. So if you are an advance authorization holder, if you are an EOU, if you are even SEZ, actually there is a clarification, but I don't know whether it's an official one or not. But all of these are not allowed by the system to apply ROTTEP. We'll have to wait for the clarification. So others normally, so where we call it as if you are claiming drawback, if you are claiming a free shipping bill or any of those, you are eligible for ROTTEP, otherwise you are not. All right. So this is a challenge. This is a query. This is a problem. We'll have to wait for the clarification on the system. And I'm sure many people, including Farmexcil, including FIO, every exporter, every export promotion council has written and submitted the details to the relevant ministries, including the FM, including the PM office, for this clarification, because even if you're an advance authorization holder, the ROTTEP remissions are still available. They were erstwhile also available with MEIS, so it should continue. Finally, before I end up, let me put one small disclaimer and a confirmation that all this information is purely for training purpose. Why I'm saying this is, of course, it is relevant, but my request to you is, please check updated guidance notes, advisories, public notice online before you take a final plunge. I was today doing something for a customer and I was about to submit an application and I realized that software has got an amendment option available. So my request to you is, take this as a reference material, take this as an info, but please check. There is a lot of updation and a lot of changes being done based on all these inputs which are going to the department. Whether it is DGFT, whether it is IceGate, whether it's customs, whether it is GST, they're all improving day by day. So take this as an information and the guidance note, refer to those official notifications and legal documents. They are binding documents, and use this info as a knowledge. Use it based from the information which is available. All information which I have extracted is also from a public domain. So do not feel that my information is from some extra sources. They are all available on the public domain. Advisories, notifications, public notices are all available on individual websites. And through that, only you should legally apply and take a call when you are taking any export documentation or you're doing any registration. All right, friends, thank you so very much. I hope you had some information advantage. I hope I could add value. For the reference, obviously Sandeep Bhai and FPME will do get a presentation copy. And in case if you need a copy for your ready reference, the link is on your screen. I will take questions if you have any and answer and try and see if I can, solve your query as well.